What is up, guys? Dayton here, aka Dr. Autoflower, back at you inside the grow room with another question and answer. And this is going to be the last question and answer video I do before we get back into the garden grows. Got some new autoflower genetics we're going to show you guys. I'm going to start those off and I'm going to get my photo period gardens up and going. My clones have taken and they are ready to be transplanted. So I got some new updates in the garden to show you guys in a bit. Before we hop in the video, if you guys are interested in supporting the channel and if you're interested in getting a new grow light in your garden, I can hook you up with optic LED discount codes. These are the lights I use, the optic LEDs. Behind me is the Slim 650S. This is my favorite LED I've ever used out of I think I've tried 25 different ones so far. So if you're interested in a discount code and you'd like to chat about lights, maybe you need help choosing a light for your garden, I can help you out with that and hook you up with a discount code. So you can contact me at DrAutoflowerLED@gmail.com or at DrAutoflower on Instagram. Also, if you're interested, make sure you go over to my MushLoven channel where I talk about mushrooms. I'll be putting a link down below in the description and the comment section if you guys want to check that out. And again, it means a ton if you guys can hit that like button down there. It really helps out the channel when you guys do. You guys have been doing such an amazing job. I really thank all you guys who have been helping out. Putting a comment down below, even just leaving a comment really helps the algorithm and stuff. So yeah, these videos have been getting a lot more traction, so I really appreciate all the help, guys. Let's keep it up, guys. Let's hit another 1,000 thumbs up on this video. It'd really mean a lot to me if we can hit that. If any of these videos help give you more info and make you a better grower, just hitting that thumbs up means so much, and I really appreciate it all. And with that out of the way, guys, let's get right into the video and get right into the questions. And we got some interesting ones to go over today. So Freebird Franklin asks, if I pollinated a female photo with a male auto, would the seeds be photo? So I've actually done this before, but I believe it was the opposite where I did a male photo and a female auto. So pretty much what happens is what you mentioned is, would it be photo? It mostly comes out as a photo. Pretty much all of them will be photo period. They will need that photo period light to switch. I believe it is after you breed those siblings with each other, then you start finding the autoflower genetics starting to come out and show their traits. So it definitely is a multi-generational project, and it can take a while to get those genes stabilized. I'm not an expert on the whole autoflower breeding and creating your own autoflowers, but I know the first generation will pretty much be all the photo periods. The one thing I kind of noticed was the flower time was kind of decreased, because I believe I had some 9 to 10 week photo period strains, and the offspring came out to 8 to 9 week flowering strains. So it actually seemed like it kind of decreased the flower time. So that was kind of nice. Also, I remember the strain I crossed was a Jack the Ripper subcool strain. Very high potency and almost too high potency, would kind of make you a little paranoid and stuff. And the nice thing I found with that cross was it kind of made it a bit more chill, definitely a lot less paranoia. So maybe it brought in some CBD into it a bit more, but it was definitely more chill and more enjoyable while still being very high potency. Russell Shepard asks, do you need to top or trim autos? Normally I say do not top autos. I don't like to do much stressful things like that. Stressful training is not really the best idea with autoflowers, especially once you're a beginner. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't experiment. I always say if you want to experiment with a couple of your plants, might as well go for it. See how you like it. Some people like it more. Some people say they actually get more growth out of their autoflowers. I haven't seen that when I did it myself. Could be genetics too. Could be some genetics can just handle it more. Some genetics maybe not so much, and they can stunt them and keep them really small, and you get really small harvest. So that is one of the issues. I personally don't top. What I do is leaf tucking techniques, LSTing. I clean up the bottoms, lollipop the bottoms, take off those leaves, and I'll do a smaller leaf strip around week 4 or 5 with the plants. Definitely much smaller than what I would do with photo periods. Photo periods I can take off a ton of leaf and it doesn't really matter. It'll all just grow back. But with autoflowers you kind of got to be a little bit more careful. You don't want to take off too much leaf, but you want to kind of take off some of the big leaves that are blocking the light that's going all the way down to the base of the plant. You kind of want light to get all over it, reaching all the internodes and stuff. Just helps makes your buds tighter and thicker and more denser all around the plant. Topping, no. Trimming would just be some of the big fan leaves. You can probably go back in some of my videos and watch my leaf stripping I've done with autoflowers. It's not that much compared to photo periods, but I do find it useful. The one thing that's a must do is clean up the bottoms. I usually clean up about 1/3 of the bottom, clean off all the leaf, all the little branches there, and make sure no larf is growing or whatnot. And just seems to help put a bit more vigor up into the top part of the canopies, get bigger, denser buds all the way around the plants. But that stuff mixed with LSTing and leaf tucking really helps. And if you're new to the lingo, LSTing means low stress training. HST, high stress training, is when you like cut parts off the plant. Bill Collins asks, I'm thinking about growing some auto indica strains here in Florida outdoors. Thoughts? So I think you could get some really good results down in Florida. You should get way better temperatures and amounts of sunlight than what I get here. In the past, I did try to do a season with all autoflowers here. The issue I found was mostly the temperatures where I live. It just drops too low at night and really slows the growth down. So if you're in a warmer climate like that, that actually might be, a bit better, and you should be able to get through a grow no problem. The interesting thing I found out with autoflowers growing outside is they seem to grow on like a different time scale or something, definitely compared to indoors. Indoors, if they say like, it's an 8 to 9 week strain, then it should be done within like 9 weeks or so. That's not the case with autoflowers I found where I was growing. They just wanted to keep growing and growing, and they wanted to have like a really, really long veg, and then they just barely started flowering a bit towards the end of summer, and they didn't really produce that much for me, but they were the biggest autoflowers I've ever grown in my life. Some of these got really tall, like 5 feet tall, which is pretty massive for an autoflower. Just really nice and bushy too. Also, another problem I had was they weren't getting that much sun. They were kind of hidden in the trees and stuff, so they probably only got like maybe 6 hours or so of sunlight in between the trees. And what you really want to have when you're growing outdoors is a spot where they're going to get as much sunlight as possible. So like, I believe it's the south facing slope or something where it's getting like, the morning all the way to the sunset. If you can find a spot like that, you should have no problem at all. Another really interesting thing I found about autoflowers when growing outdoors is when I planted seeds directly in the ground, they really didn't do that good compared to when I actually start them in like solo cups, little cups, and then transplant them at like week 1 or 10 days old. They seem to do way, way better. So that is one of the only times I'll say definitely transplant and start them in solo cups. If you can, start them under LED lights to give them a nice vigorous start up till they're about 10 days, and then transplant them up. That seems to be the best option. And the last little trick I'll talk about that really helped the growth, I think, was when I planted them. I planted these in like, it was very healthy soil, but it was compact. So what I did was I took a shovel and I, cut up a circle, dug my shovel in and made a circle. And once I did that, then I just chopped it all to shit with my shovel, made it sure it's nice and loomy. And that way the roots, when they grow in, they can grow really easily all the way down. And once they establish themselves, then they just take right off and the roots just go massive. So that's how they turned out to be some of the biggest autoflowers I've ever grown. And it is definitely something I'd like to try in the future again, in a different, better spot. Quantum Spiritualism says, I am a cocoa grower and I want to try soil. Do I feed every watering or every 3 or something? So I think what you really want to do is clarify what you mean by soil. Do you mean actual soil, like a super soil? Are you going all organic? Or are you going what I use in a soilless mix? I do know there's a lot of people that say, oh yeah, I grow in soil, but it's not really soil. If you're using something like Promix HP, then technically that's not a soil, that is a grow medium. But there's also the organic route. Maybe that's what you're talking about. But I'm kind of thinking if you're saying when do you feed, I think you're meaning a soilless mixture. Now I think it really depends on the nutrients you're using. Maybe some you'd be feeding once every other time, and maybe have a watering, just pure watering in between. I've done some like that. If you're growing like what I do and use advanced nutrients, if you use my scheduling, I feed every single watering. I just give a smaller amount than what the bottle calls for, and I'm never really overfeeding my plants. They're getting exactly what they need. They seem to get exactly what they need. They don't seem to be overwatered, and I pretty much need to do it that way because when you're using the pH perfect stuff, if you stop using it, it kind of seems like it throws off the pH. So I just use my feeding schedule with the Advanced Nutrients pH perfect. Feeding every single watering can be a little bit of a hassle, but when it comes to the end, I have so few actual issues in my grow that it kind of makes it worthwhile, and the results I get are phenomenal and I'm very happy with them. So I'm pretty happy with sticking sticking the way I do it. But some people might want to go with a different nutrient route where you have to feed, every so often or so. I always say find what works best for you. If you want to use my nutrient feeding schedule, you just search Dr. Autoflower feeding schedule. It'll pop up, check it out, and it's pretty simple to follow. Meme Lord 420 Blazed asks, I'm wondering, do you always wear sunglasses in your grow room? I try to. These are the Method 7 LED glasses. Very, very high quality, good glasses. I absolutely love these. It makes a huge difference when you come in here and you're working for a long period of time. It can be a strain on the eyes. Sometimes I'm bad and I just come in and I don't put them on, and then you can definitely tell like it can strain the eyes a bit when you're in here too long, especially when the lights are on full power. It gets very bright in here and kind of, hard in the eyes. And if you're doing this for years and years, you kind of want to protect your eyes. Like, you only get one set of eyes, and safety first, right? I actually knew a dealer back in the day who lost both eyes, both from incidents from not wearing safety glasses. One time at work, something flew into one eye, boom, lost that. A couple years later, something else flew into the other eye, gone. So getting an investment like this is worthwhile, I see. Zero Faith asks, what week do we defoliate our plants and what week do you leaf tuck? So I probably start doing leaf tucking around like week 3.5, depending on how they look, what their size is. Defoliating, I probably wait to about week 4 to 5, and sometimes I'll usually only do like one defoliation, very small one, smaller than what I normally do with photoperiods, and definitely I would clean up the bottom, do the lollipopping at 1/3 of the plant, clean all that up so you don't got a bunch of larvae growing. Chris Sanchez asks, how can I obtain your feeding schedule? How far do you keep your light from your plants for the best growth? Just like I mentioned in one of the last questions, just search Dr. Autoflower feeding schedule. It should pop up right at number 1. And for the question on how far do you keep your LEDs from your plants, that's a really great question. And something I always tell people is you really need to know your par levels. To grow properly with LED lights, you should be testing and seeing what your par levels are at the canopy of your plants. So I do this by using a par meter. A par meter measures the amount of light that your LED light is giving off, the amount of usable light the plant can actually use. And when you know that amount, you can give your plant exactly what they need and make sure you're not frying your plant or making sure you're not giving them like too little and too less, right? The one downside is the good par meter, the Apogee par meter, and that's from Bruce Bugby's company, probably the best par meter in the game, is probably around like $500 to $600, so it's pretty pricey. So what are the workarounds with that? Well, you can get a cheaper lux meter. A lux meter can cost around like $30 to $40, but all you gotta do is search lux to par on YouTube and it'll all pop up, bunch of videos showing you how to use a lux meter, take a measurement, and I believe there's like an app now, but you can also calculate it on your calculator on your phone. And what you would do is take that lux amount reading and you would convert it into a par number, and then you would know your par. And then the really cheap option would be a par meter on your phone. Now it's not as accurate, but it's still pretty accurate. It does a decent job. First I had to configure the app so it works properly with my light. And then once I was using it, I really had to like take multiple readings and twist it around. And then once I found my highest reading, that's what the most accurate one was. And it was pretty damn close, but it'll work if you're in a bind. The app I'm talking about is Photone. But like I said, you do have to configure it beforehand, and then you really have to like twist and take a bunch of readings and then take the highest one. You gotta play around with it, but it comes out pretty accurate once you get the hang of it. Romello Gilbert asks, is a dehumidifier not worth it? I'm just curious why you don't use one to help you control your humidity issues you mentioned. I don't think you've been paying attention because I got 2 of those bad boys. And during when I'm growing, they are working overtime and non-stop, just sucking all the moisture out of the air. And I am emptying them probably 1.5 to 2 times a day. But yeah, definitely I recommend it. If you have humidity issues, you got to get a dehumidifier. It really helps, but it does add heat to the room, so that is something you need to factor in. Chris Nessel asks, why do my autoflowers keep herming? Great question. If you have autoflowers that keep herming on you, and you're giving them a good environment, that usually means you have bad genetics. The breeder you got it from didn't do a proper job, and they're just pushing out those genetics trying to make some money or something, and that's usually a very, very good indicator that those are some breeders you should probably not be using anymore. And I'd be moving to someone who's more stable. And the go-to one, like I always say, is Mephisto. They are some of the best genetics around if you are interested in getting autoflowers and you're not too sure what to go with, maybe you've heard some bad things about autoflowers in the past, go with Mephisto. Thank me later. It's just really good, stable genetics. Some of the best in the industry, and I've never had an issue with stability from Mephisto, so that's why I always recommend them. But I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for watching this episode. You guys put in some great questions, and I always love answering these, helping the community learn together. So yeah, if you learned anything in this video, make sure you smash that like button. Really appreciate it. Make sure you leave a comment, or if you got a question and you want it featured on one of these episodes, just put the question down below. I'll go through and pick the best questions and put them on the next episodes. Also, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can follow along with all my new videos, and hit that bell down there to get the notification so you know when my new videos go up. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and until next time, guys, peace out, and we'll catch you guys later.